They've been a promised home and education by successive governments. But today, thousands of children live on the dangerous streets of Accra and other parts of the country. The Gender Ministry estimates the number at 300,000 children. Today, a new research paper is being presented on the role of the police, magistrate courts, welfare, that's the social welfare, and district assemblies in addressing the problem. We have details of that presentation coming up shortly. But right now, we have this extensive report put together by JoyNews' Ernest Meno. It was, in fact, a Judge 2017 Best Human Rights Report with a focus on child protection at last week's GJA Awards.
Every day, more and more children are forced to leave home to fend for themselves on the street, with an estimated 90,000 reported to be on the streets of Accra, scavenging, begging, and hawking on the street to survive.
Homeless, homeless. What sometimes surprises me the most is the attitude of parents and society to children, because there are instances that parents feel that their children are stubborn, so they just don't want to have anything to do with them. Most of the children that we have interviewed on the street clearly say that their home is not comfortable for them.
It is estimated that a total of 90,000 children in Accra are homeless. These children roam the streets of the capital, hungry and vulnerable. They are often as young as 10 years old. For many of these children, a place to sleep at night after roaming the streets, searching for food and work, remains the biggest source of worry.
I used to live with my father at Tepa and was enrolled in school. But at home, I was accused of stealing once something goes missing. Apparently, my father's new wife was behind this. So eventually, my father sacked us from home and asked us to go live with my grandmother, who also didn't have much. My uncle attempted to help me acquire some skills, but I wanted to be in school, so I fled to Accra. In Accra, here at Kaneshie, I sold PK and tissue and managed to save 1,000 cedis. I went back to my hometown and handed it over to my dad to help pay my fees and take care of me. But he spent the money and rather accused me of stealing the money. So I left and returned to Accra. While here, I had a friend who shared the streets with me, but sadly stole my things and fled with it. Over here, we are at the mercy of the weather. If it rains, we seek refuge elsewhere, each one for himself.
Meet
18-year-old Joshua Tete, who left home after his parents divorced. These cruel streets of Accra has been his home for the past 8 years. According to the statistics by the Social Welfare Department, the common types of health problems among street children include malaria, fever, cold, rashes, infections, and headaches.
In Accra 2009.
It's free for no back.
If you do
obey then work, one and no buy.
You be an enemy buyer, me and I buy, me, my name Papa. I
came to Accra from Dodowa in 2008. I fled my family home to Accra following a breakup between my parents. The marital instability led me to flee. I wasn't educated. I was sent to learn Arabic, but I stopped and came to Accra, where I met these young boys cleaning windshields of vehicles and decided to join them. I gathered some money from begging for alms on the street, which I saved to buy tools for cleaning. Now I clean the windshield of vehicles for a living. I make up to 50 cedis on a good day. On lean days, however, I can make 10 cedis.
In a day, and on your best.
A day, Scabba Bapa, 50 Ghana, Saminia Skakra, 10 cedi.
Another boy who gives his name as Kwekuima tells me life in Accra for the past 6 years has not been easy. He recalls the harrowing stories of how some friends have died due to the harsh realities of street life.
Some of my friends have been taken away by their parents. Others have also died, some through accidents and others mysteriously. We sleep and wake up to find them dead. If it happens that way, we seek for help and bury them or take them to the hospital.
Police for
According to UNICEF, street children fall in 3 categories: those who have lost ties with families and live alone on the streets, children who spend all or most of their time working on the streets to earn income for their families or for themselves, and children who live on the street with their parents. Renowned human rights lawyer, pastor and politician Francis Xavier Sosu is one of such.
Well, I have spent nearly 17 years on the street. From the beginning, it was a matter of assisting my mother.
So that's quite a worrying situation there. NS News reports that actually won him the GJA Awards. We'll take a quick break here on The Pulse. When we return, we'll delve deeper into this issue of streetism. Thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. If you just tuned in, of course, we're talking streetism as our very first issue. Of course, we've been to the KNUST as well. But this worrying situation, we have 33,000 children living on the streets. That's according to the Gender Ministry report. You also saw NS News report a while ago. Well, today, experts met in Accra, where a presentation of a research work into the problem was presented. The Center for Constitutional Order prepared the report in collaboration with the Law Faculty of the University of Professional Studies. And in the studios, we are privileged to be joined by the fellow researcher, Center for Constitutional Order, Kwewa Kwelabi, joins us in the studio. Thank you very much for your time. Kwewa, I love your name, I must say.
Well, thank you.
Well, so it came up today at the Stakeholders Forum that at least one thing was established, that we have laws that should be able to help cater for these underprivileged children. But from that engagement, we'll talk about the laws in itself, but from that engagement, what kind of understanding did you get as to why these laws are there, yet are not being implemented?
Okay, good afternoon to our viewers. Good afternoon to everyone. I think before I proceed with that, I want to correct the numbers about the 33,000 children on the street. The report we have is that 33,000 as of 2011 by a UNICEF report. And as of 2017,
so
by a policy document from the Gender Ministry, was 300,000 children living on the street. And today, at the presentation we had today, we had a confirmation from a director from the social welfare saying the number of people living on the streets right now is over 450,000.
And the children are just 300,000, you're saying?
Because when we talk of street people, we are not just talking of the street children, we are talking of the disabled who are begging, we are talking about the adult beggars, even the street hawkers also form part of the So as we speak today, according to the records by which was confirmed by the Director of Social Welfare, we have over 450,000 people living
on the streets.
Yes.
Okay, so let's focus on the children, for instance. So the figures that you have, it's more than 300,000?
Yes, it's as of 2017, it was 300,000.
300,000.
And we are in 2018, so I'm sure it's up.
Yet we have laws sitting there that is supposed to cater for these underprivileged.
Yes, we do.
Those on the streets.
Yes, we do have.
Interesting. So what did the stakeholders say? I'm sure we have the social welfare, we have all those who are supposed to be implementing these laws. They were at the Stakeholders Forum. Yes. What kind of understanding did you get?
Okay, so today at the Stakeholders Forum, the main purpose was to share a finding, that the center carried out. That's the Center for Constitutional Order. We did a research and we realized that there were these 2 basic laws which we believed by implementation of both will eradicate streetism. And that is the Education Act 2008, Act 778, and then the Beggars and Destitute Act 1969 NLCD 392. So the basic, the Education Act 2008 is saying that every child is supposed to attend a course of instruction, where a course of instruction is they must go to school.
Yeah.
Where we are looking at the provisions in section 2.4 to 2.6. And then it says that where a child is unable to go to school because a parent cannot genuinely afford, the district assembly must take the responsibility of making sure that the child is in school.
The district assembly.
The district assembly. And not only that, the parents who has failed to make sure that their children is in school must first appear before the Social Welfare Committee for an appropriate action. And where the parent appears in front of that Social Welfare Committee and there's a direction given and the parent still fails, then the parent will be arraigned before the court and they are subject to fine, or instead of fine, community service. So you can see that if
neglecting your duties.
Yes, if the state actors, in this case the state actors are the district assembly, we are looking at the Social Welfare Committee of the district assembly, and then the courts, if they were implementing that law within their district, I'm not sure any child will be on the streets, because every district assembly is responsible for the welfare of the children within their district.
Community.
The law is not telling you come and look after the whole children in the nation within your district. Currently, we have about 254 districts. Every district assembly is responsible for theirs. So with this law alone, children will be in the streets, because even if you arrest the parents, arresting the parents and finding them does not guarantee that the child will go to school. But then the law goes further to say that then the district assembly would take charge and take that responsibility of that child.
So how come it's not being done?
Well, we did this thing in conjunction with the Beggars and Destitute Act law, which is also saying that begging is an offense.
Yes.
Specifically in section 2 of NLCD 392, begging is an offense. And so a police officer may arrest any person who is begging or at a place for the purposes of begging or wandering. And not only that, if you encourage begging, you have committed an offense. So, my dear, if you are the one giving money, you are committing
we had cause
offense.
to talk about this, but there were concerns about who a beggar is. It was not properly defined by the same Beggars and Destitute Act, and it was a subject of controversy here, right here on this program.
It is true. It is a subject of controversy, but even though the law is not clear on the beggar, it goes on to define who a destitute is. In section 6, it says that a destitute is somebody who is found wandering, who, when you ask, cannot provide an evidence of where they live. They cannot provide an evidence of employment, where they go to school, or they cannot provide an evidence of their source of income. With this survey that the center carried out in a Asin-Fosu case, there was one child, and this was a district that you see that they were doing their job.
Okay.
They saw a child who had broken into the home of someone, the veranda, and they took the child. And they asked the child what he was doing around. He said he walked from Kumasi to Somenya. He doesn't know how he got from Somenya to Asin-Fosu. He couldn't mention the school. He said he was in school, but he didn't know which stage he is, whether he had dropped out. You see? So these are the problems. Do you get it? At least this district, they were doing their case, but that is the issue. And so at this forum today, when we had a representative from the police headquarters coming, we had the social welfare representative, we realized that all these 8 actors have to work together. The actors, namely the district assembly, where you have the social welfare committee and the coordinating director. Then you come to the district police command, then you come to the district magistrate court. They must work together. They admitted that the collaboration is not there.
Did they raise the challenge? Why this gap is there? Did they tell us why there's this challenge? What really is the issue?
They were not able to clarify. They were only saying there is more that goes into the Streetism issue. They were saying that there has been some work that they are doing, but then we made it clear to them that irrespective of the situation of whoever story it is, whether you are an orphan, whether you are being child. Somebody said, what about child trafficking? And we were saying, if we were implementing this law, there would not be any children for somebody to come and child traffic in the first place. So we believe that the Education Act and the Beggars Act are the basic laws which must be implemented by these state actors. And they appreciated that, yes, it is the case. But the synergy of working together is an issue, because awareness of the law, the survey that we carried out revealed that some people knew about the law, but you ask them about the provision, basically what the law is telling them to do, they say no. So 80% will say, oh yes, we know about the existence of this law, but only 20% will say, oh, we know that it says we do. Some too gave excuses that you can't arrest a beggar in your street because you know. But Ghana is a country, upheld by the rule of law. It is not nice to step out and see children who are supposed to be in school on the begging. Sometimes it's even cause hazard, engaging in work that is a threat to them. Even car accidents. Exactly. And you see, the pathetic thing is now that you can see it's a business. The adults, the able-minded, physically able, who can work and add to the productivity of this country,
send these children
so that
out
we can
beg.
They are the one using them. So they are all, they must be arrested. And the law makes provision that when they are arrested, they must be arraigned before the courts for the beggars like this. And then the court will order the social welfare to do an inquiry and report as to the situation and circumstance of the person. And when that court comes, if the person is a sick person who has an infectious or contagious disease, they may order that the person is sent to a health facility, a government health facility for that matter, for that purposes. If that person is not that case, then the first person they call on is any relative of the family, and then they commit that person into the care of that relative,
but
or
see,
any person willing to take care.
Kwewa, this is a very lucrative industry. There's some people, I don't know if you recall, there's this gentleman who sits around the Tigo area. He has an elephantiasis. We did a story on him. A number of journalists have reported on him, raised money for him, yet they give him, he goes back there because it's more lucrative for them.
You see, he is going back there because you've given him the freedom to go back there. When you take him, are you using the law to, first of all, get him off the street and take him to where he's supposed to be? Has this gentleman been arraigned before the court? And has the court given an order as to where he's supposed to be? If you keep raising funds and you just keep raising funds, you are just raising funds. You are not following the law. And so what do you expect?
So for us also reporting on them, we're also breaking the law.
You should be very careful. You should be aware of the law that is there that says that when you take these people off the streets, it is the police that must do arrest. If you can't do an arrest, get the police to do that. And when they do that, they don't keep them for more than 24 hours. Then they're supposed to be arraigned in the court. Then the magistrate court will order, okay, well, this guy, when you're elephantiasis, send him to this hospital. This guy is mentally, admit him to this. And you see, if not, then they say we should send them to a suitable institution, which means that they ought to be destitute home.
Are they there? Realistically, they are not there. We don't have shelter home.
So that is why we are bringing this law. If it is not there, those
but
who
the systems must be in place before we can implement these laws, Kwewa. The systems are not in place. How then do we enforce these laws?
Oh, they must enforce it. They must create the system. The law is already there. So because the system is not there, you will not implement the law. You have created the law. So
how long has this law been on the tables? Yet the number keeps increasing. You said
that's the sad
we came from 33,000. We are now at 450,000. You say, and this law has been there.
So the system must be created. There is no excuse. They must create the system. They must find a way to create it. There are funds that they must do that. Creating the system is not an excuse. Unless now they want to repeal these laws. Then come and repeal and we know that these laws are not there because we don't have systems to create them. Oh, Yamba laws, that sort of thing. But so far as the laws are there, they must be followed. And
but our actions have already repealed the laws. Our actions have already repealed it.
But you see, there are still laws that are there.
That needs to be implemented.
Exactly.
So beyond these stakeholders and the talk about it, what are we hoping to do to ensure that those who are supposed to implement these laws do so to the letter?
Obviously, you see, there is one statement that says you must shine the corner where you are. We can't do all, but we can do something. As a center, we are all about institutional compliance. And so we have held this first stakeholders forum. We were impressed by the inputs by the stakeholders. The next stage is to have a policy roundtable, so, more like an indoor thing, to have them, come together and sit down and let us know really why is it that they are not implementing the law and how we can help as civil society, how the public, we can all help to be able to implement the law. In these policy discussions, we are hoping that the challenges you know, that they have faced in implementing the law will come out, so that we move from there to an action plan. Because you see, we must do something. It is not easy. There are hindrances, there are challenges, system failures, but this is our Ghana and it must work. So we still have to do something.
Kwewa, we'll leave it here. We're indeed grateful for your time. We're hoping that we could get the other stakeholders also to be able to give some kind of commitment as to what they are going to be doing to ensure that we're able to implement these laws. Kwewa Kwelabi is with the Center for Constitutional Order, and we've been talking streetism here on the Pulse. We're hoping that something will be done about this situation.